everyone, and welcome back to Jola Speaks. I'm very delighted to have you with us today and listen to me on this particular episode. In our last episode, we talked about taking support for granted, and I know that really resonated with a lot of people. And I pray that God continues to help us make those phone calls. Right? It is super important to not take people for granted. So today we're going to look at the power of a strong voice, or maybe I'll title it the power of a strong perspective. And we'll be looking at David's story. We're going to continue the conversation of David in 2 Samuel 19, 1-8, and how a strong perspective from Joab, his commander-in-chief, helped David see what was missing. So I'm going to read from 2 Samuel 19 verses 1-8, and I will discuss in our usual fashion afterwards. So quickly, I read the NIV version. Joab was told, "The king is weeping and mourning for Absalom, and for the whole army the victory that day was turned to mourning, because on the day the troops heard it said, the king is grieving for his son. The men stole into the city and that day, as the men still in who are ashamed when they flee from battle. The king covered his face and cried aloud, 'Oh, my son Absalom! Oh, Absalom, my son, my son!' Then Joab went into the house to the king and said, 'Today you have humiliated all your men. You have just saved your life, who has just saved your life and the lives of your wives and concubines, sons and daughters. You love those who hate you and hate those who love you. You have made it clear today that the commanders and the men mean nothing to you. I see that you would be pleased if Absalom were alive today and all of us were dead. Now go out and encourage your men. I swear by the Lord that if you don't go out, not a man will be left with you by nightfall. This will be worse for you than all the calamity that have come to you from your youth till now.' So the king got up and took his seat in the gateway. When the men were told, 'The king is sitting in the gateway,' they all came before him. Meanwhile, the Israelites had fled to their homes." The power of a strong perspective. And we can see here how powerful Joab's voice is to David. It was one of the most powerful voices, in David's mind or heart. And so, yes, in the previous episode, we explored, David's profound grief over the death of his son Absalom, and how he was so absorbed in his sorrow that he even wished it was him, that passed instead of Absalom, and he lost the battle. And he, overlooks the support of the, loyal army that stood by him in the wilderness. Now, these men, as we've read here, had left their homes, families to protect him while he was on the run from Absalom and from his palace, right, or the king's palace. And they made so much sacrifices, yet they were so consumed with the fact that his son was killed in the process of winning the battle, and it kind of helped him. He kind of neglected his men that were meant to be rejoicing, and made them grieve or mourn like him instead. And that shows how important a leader is, because David was the leader of the Israel of this army that he had, right? Nobody in the army could rejoice when he was mourning, and so they all had to mourn with him. Now enter Joab, David's chief commander. He stepped in and quoted David, pointing out clearly, as we can see here in 2 Samuel 19 verses 5, that you have humiliated your men, and who has risked everything, right, to save your lives of your sons, your daughters, your families, and etc. And the fact that he loved those that he hated, which means, so he loved those that hate him and hate those that love him. Because again, he was longing for Absalom that wanted to kill him, yet the men that were supporting him, he ignored them. It also says here that Joab mentioned to him that, "I see that you will be pleased if Absalom were alive today and all of us were dead." He was showing David his picture. That's the way you are behaving. It's as if you wanted him alive, Absalom alive, and us dead. And that strong person was so important, because Joab warned David that if he did not acknowledge and encourage his men, they might leave, and leaving David and his family vulnerable to who only God knows what. And you see, because Joab was a very strong voice in David's heart, David yielded to that advice as a leader, and he realized, oh wow, I've really neglected these people. I've really not gone out to address these men. I've really not, rejoiced in victory. I really not thanked God. He was able to, restore the morale and the leadership and stability because Joab intervened and helped David see beyond his emotions or his immediate emotions and recognize the importance of appreciating those that stood by him. It's so important to appreciate those that stand by us. I said it in the last episode, it is super, super important. I recently had a similar experience. Well, not similar, but a similar experience in that sense, where I was deeply hurt and upset about a particular situation that happened because it didn't turn out as I expected. And so my anger and frustration kind of blinded me to the fact that the very purpose and intention of that particular situation was actually received. I was more focused at the fact that it did not go as I planned it. It went well. The purpose was achieved, but not the way I wanted it to be achieved. It literally took an outside person, someone that did not know me much, to give me perspective and say, I help you realize that, actually the result I wanted was done. Even if it's not, the way and manner in which I hoped it would have been done. But the point is that the actual purpose, the result was what I wanted. It is natural for us to be easily caught up in emotions, right? Obviously, we are all emotional beings, so it's easy for us to be caught up in our emotions and how we feel about certain instances, etc. I agree. But sometimes we need that strong voice, that voice of reasoning, to help us see the big picture and focus on what it should be, and not, the immediate pain or frustration that we are currently focusing on. Whether it's a mentor, whether it's a friend, whether it's a stranger. In my case, it was literally a stranger that told me. So it was not someone that even knew me at all. So whether it's a mentor, a stranger, or a friend, those perspectives are super important, and they will guide us to recognize and appreciate the support and victories that we may easily or otherwise have overlooked. Food for thought. Food for thought. So thank you for tuning in today. Thank you for listening to me today. I hope this has helped us understand and given us a clear perspective of the importance of recognizing and appreciating the support that we receive, and also the importance of a strong perspective to help us, see the big picture, to help us reposition our mind and focus into the right perspective. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. And I love you. See you next time. Bye.